Hello and welcome to this tarot reading. I'm Eva, and today we have a reading dealing with a vocational situation. I've laid out here some cards and I've given them some thought. This one I'll turn over in a moment. I have looked at it. But I want us to understand what it is that we're primarily talking about today. And then I'll go into various ways we can look at it and deal with it. What I'm seeing is a reading about ambition and sacrifice and the question of where does your ambition lead you and to what degree are you willing to sacrifice things? And where does creativity come into all of that and authority? So let me start here with what I laid out as the crux of our problem. We have the Empress card with the Two of Wands. This is the Bonefire Tarot. So in every card she has put bones and fire, often together, just as we have here. So the Empress card is about the divine feminine side as seen in the natural and created world. Now that's a big concept, and it is a major arcana. It is our only major arcana in this reading. It does not pertain only to women. It is an archetype of femininity that can be found in men as well. All of us have masculine and feminine traits. But this archetype takes us into the feminine as a force in nature, just like Mother Earth we think of as feminine. And there's this idea that the feminine principle brings forward creation, and that we all have creativity within us. We are wired to be creative. That is this archetype within all of us. And she is also very at home in her body. So anyone, man or woman or non-binary person who feels very at home in their body, or that is something that they're looking to be more, this card represents that desire for physical sensation, physical touch, warmth, the warmth of a mother's embrace, and fruitfulness. So we have all sorts of symbols here of fruitfulness. We have the baby growing in the womb of the tree. We have the open pomegranate. We have the growing and ripe wheat ready for harvest. We have this fertile stream here and the sun that gives life. And on her forehead, at the place of her third eye, is the world card, because she's all about sustaining life on earth and life within us. Also the symbol for Taurus, which is a sign of the earth. She's also associated with Venus, the goddess of love and beauty and the physical riches of the world. So this is at odds with the Two of Wands, which is a card of, I always think of the Two of Wands as something of a portal, where you're energetically feeling at a crossroads between choices, and you have to go in one direction or the other, or you're being asked, will you step through this portal? Will you make this choice? Will you take this action? Will you, again, we see the world is often pictured in the Two of Wands. There's this dreaming of the next step in your life. And like when I felt this energy probably the most in my life was when I was reaching the end of my college studies, and I knew I had to either take what was offered to me right there where I was standing, or I had to go out into the unknown and take my chances with a whole different life. That's the energy here. So there's this strong archetype of creativity and womanhood, but again, it doesn't have to be for women. It's this strong earthy sense of grounded comfort in your own environment, in your own self, in your own creativity, crossed with the risk of starting something new and going in a whole new direction and maybe leaving everything behind. And ambition deals with that, doesn't it? Some readers will say that the Two of Wands tells you that you're making this choice. You are, it's like you have to leave the old behind, you have to go the new way. I still think there's a choice here. I think that's what we're looking at, the choice, and how ambition and sacrifice plays their role. This is our focus card. It's a court card, meaning it's a personality in the tarot. This personality is the Page of Swords. They are someone who is in a new stage in life. They don't have to be young, although they can be. They're usually pictured very young. And they are carrying this sword, which is often seen as a challenging instrument, right? It's seen as something that brings fear, or it cuts through things. It's ambitious, and it can be ruthless. It has to be wielded carefully. Just as the sword suit also deals with the mind and how we have to wield our thoughts carefully, we have to wield our words carefully. And the page is just learning to do this. That's why she's pictured here kind of up above the ground. You might notice that the fire is way down below her, and she's up kind of in the top of the trees here. There's this sense of clouds, and she's up here with kites. Can be naive. There's a sense of being a little bit out of your element, a little bit up in the... My camera cut out, so apologies if I repeat myself on any of this. I'm not exactly sure what I said and didn't... what I recorded and didn't record what I said. So there's also this idea that she's up in the clouds and out of her element, and striving, but not really sure of what she's doing. You can see she's kind of looking behind her or down. There's an element of being too new for the task that's being asked of you, or of being a little bit in over your head. Maybe you told someone you had these skills, but you're finding that now that they've hired you, you're really struggling to do what's asked of you, because the emphasis is on the page being the one in the suit who's the least experienced in that suit. And so yeah, you are being asked to do something maybe very mentally challenging for yourself right now. But, you carry this sort of ambition, and that may be what saves you. That may, depending on your situation, that may be what's going to get you through this, or it could be that it's been a problem for you, being overly ambitious. You'll have to weigh your own situation. Below them, we have these two cards. I should say, yes, below the page we have these two cards, the Three of Coins and the Eight of Wands. In the Three of Coins, we have a lot of symbolism, just as we do in most of these cards. We see 3 coins sitting on a fire. The bones and the flames are here, and then there's this archway with esoteric symbols. There's grains, and then there's carrots growing down here below with some water and a gemstone and a lotus. It's quite a image here. But what really stands out in this deck is this idea of the coins being sacrificed in the fire. Something that you've invested it's like you were asked to invest something, and the question is, do you want to keep building this? The 3 is a dynamic state of creativity, of new growth. The Empress is a 3. So it's a time when a project is taking off. The Three of Coins also often represents teamwork, collaboration, you and other people building something. But it can also be you alone building something with your spiritual team, okay? So you'll have to figure out which one it is. But I do get a sense that you might be finding yourself in a team situation and you're being asked to invest, or you have invested something, and that is where the whole question of, did your ambition take you into something that is dynamic and creative, or are you doing most of the sacrificing, or are you sacrificing more than you want to? How do you feel about the project, and how do you feel about the people you're working with? Does it feel like it's all these abstract symbols that you can't make sense of? Is that exciting? Is that troubling? Where is the energy taking you? Right? Where are you going to go now? The page can also mean that you need more information. that you don't have enough information, and it's a card of doing research and investigating. So keep that in mind too. Then this card, the Eight of Wands, shows 8 pine cones sailing down to earth. We have a mountain, we have multiple symbols including a lucky horseshoe, a letter, gemstones, this river that we see here in the Empress, this watery source of life. And I think the author in this card intended to show these pine cones on fire because they are going to do a good work to thaw out this frozen land below. And so often it's seen as a card of incoming information or incoming ideas. And I get that sense here. It could be also that you are thinking of sending out a lot of information, or maybe you are just sitting on your email waiting to send this group email or something, or group text. And so that's obviously part of the situation. You could be waiting on important information, but it's often seen as unexpected news, unexpected information, usually carrying something good, but it can bring change, and that change is not always welcome. So it's a strong card of energy. It's a strong card of incoming information or ideas or spiritual, like, willpower. And then we have this card here, which is about whatever you want to see in it. I see something, and it's a card that doesn't really have its own meaning. You take your own interpretation from it. But what I see, and you can pause this if you want to sit with it for a moment. I see a person who's at peace and their upper chakras are ignited, meaning they are in conversation with the divine, and that is giving them answers, it's giving them peace, it's giving them contentment, it's giving them resolution and resolve perhaps. But at their fingertips here is something very strange. It looks like an iguana or lizard type creature that might be on fire, that might be emitting a blue flame, some kind of watery substance. It's hard to say. I see it as something that is shadowy and terrifying to some degree, that you are burning up in some kind of sacrifice of your fears or your worries, or some kind of hostile entanglement you might be part of that needs to be dealt with before you can move on from this. It's part of this choice you're making. It's about solving whatever this is for you so that you can start in a new direction. And I also see her as possibly being a boss figure. Again, not necessarily a woman, could be man, but someone who may be very earthy, very sensual, may even be inappropriate at times with that, but they are someone maybe you've looked up to for how creative they are, and how someone who's very capable and competent, really a master of their environment. But it could be a good thing. It could even be someone you're striving to be. It could be your ideal person, that you want to be this great creative powerhouse. But yeah, this idea of both building something, being on the right track with it potentially, but what is it asking you to sacrifice, and how is that generating this new wealth of incoming energy? I need to pick another card. I decided to go with the Amenti Oracle for this one because this is a very soothing but rational deck for me, and I get the sense that we need a little bit of that. We've got a lot of fire in this reading, and yet we have this sort of truth and justice, this sort of wanting to find the rational and logical way through something, and using your own gifted mind to make sense of your choice here and what you have to do before going in a new direction, or choosing whether to go in a new direction. So let's pick a card here from the Amenti to bring this reading home. Thank you, Spirit. What do you have for us today in the beautiful Amenti Oracle? What guidance would you give us to close this out? I'm going to go and I'm going to take this one and take one from the cut as well. Okay. So I have to make sure I'm just getting one card. Nice. Okay. Whew. We have two cards here to take us home. I give blessings. I honor virtue. So, in thinking of ambition, sacrifice, and making choices for ourselves, taking our vocational energies in new directions, dealing with bosses, dealing with incoming news or change. Let's remember to focus on giving blessings and honoring virtue. I'm just going to read a little bit from the guidebook for this card because I think it ties in beautifully with this card here. I give blessings. Some believe that the act of prayer is when you speak directly to the all that is, while meditation is when the all that is speaks directly to you. Regardless of your faith or philosophy, opening the portal to find communion and or communication with divine creative energies can be an act that provides clarity of consciousness and, at the very least, inner peace. And I think we see a lot of that going on in this card here. She goes on to say in this guidebook that the pure embodiment of I give blessings is to remember to share blessings with all, in all ways, even to those you may not at first deem worthy or worth it, because judgment is left to the next journey. Keep your heart light by removing the veil of judgment and loving all, free of the lens of separation. So for some of you, that might be a necessary part of dealing with something before you can come into a greater stability and growth. So I'll read also the entry for this card, at least most of it. I love this card. I think it's a really beautiful reminder of what we can call upon as we make decisions and deal with people. These are the 4 pillars of righteousness depicted here, and I will read what she says about those. Virtue is defined as moral excellence, goodness, or righteousness, but this definition alone does not fully encapsulate what living this ideal means. It has been said that the 4 cardinal virtues are temperance, prudence, courage, and justice. 4 pillars emerging from a strong spiritual foundation that holds the divine astral architecture of the soul in place. The pillars of virtue can be honored by remembering the call to action this ideal evokes. She has an Egyptian proverb here that says, to know means to record in one's memory, but to understand means to blend with the thing and to assimilate it oneself. She goes on, to show temperance is to be reminded to keep your spiritual scale balanced, to keep a calm mind, to control your emotions, to breathe, to remember love are the highest truths. To demonstrate prudence is to exercise caution, to remain practical, and to use discretion. It is to be aware and ponder the weight of your actions, to contemplate how each choice may manifest through every area of your life. Weigh and consider your options for action, because there is always a direct reaction as it ripples through time. To be courageous is to keep an open heart and to stay strong in the face of adversity. It is to be reminded to create from a place of love by aligning your heart with your mind. You can dissolve any fear, seeing that here. You can dissolve any fear by facing it head on, because the only way past fear is through it. All darkness has the potential to be transmuted into light. Again, seeing that there. By letting your own inner light shine. Emotional, physical, and mental strength are the actions of this inner light, from which courageousness emerges. The fortitude of I honor virtue allows for a liberation of spirit untethered from the bending chains of fear. To apply the virtue of justice to your life is to will what is fair and to remember to do the right thing always. Being righteous isn't about having to be right. It's about being right in the spiritual sense of a connection to heart, to compassion, to kindness, to empathy, and to a humble awareness of the interconnected nature of every living being. So that's a really beautiful way to close this out, reminding us that as we find ourselves feeling so overwhelmed at times with our work and with our vocational aspirations, and sometimes regretting things we've done or investments we've made, or just weighing all of that, we have to remember that our heart is going to lead us through this, and our spiritual connections are going to guide us and bring us to inner peace. They will help us burn away what is negative, and they will help us make the right choices so that we don't hurt other people with our ambition and with our naivety, but we actually grow and bring about more stability and more actualization of our dreams, of our creative potential here. So I hope this gives us all some things to think about when it comes to our ambitions in our vocational area of life. I wish you all the best with this and with all the things you are currently experiencing. Until next time, take care. Goodbye.